HARK, we are here. It is time for yet another episode of Star Wars Unlimited, our first regroup phase episode of Set 2 Shadows of the Galaxy. We had a little bit of a locals snafu for the This Is the Way series. I had an issue where I wasn't able to get to my normal locals. A couple of other things came up and I wasn't really able to get footage at another place I was able to play. But ultimately, I didn't want to leave you all high and dry. So today, I'm going to go over the deck list of an idea that I think might be really neat to play in Set 2 Shadows of the Galaxy. And bonus, it doesn't require any high value cards, just stuff that you probably have lying around in your extra boxes or whatever, but might still be very viable moving forward in what it can do. So today we are going to be looking at Gar Saxon Cunning. And the reason why we've chosen those colors is a couple of different reasons. Gar Saxon's a cool Mandalorian character. He's got some stuff that backs up with him in order to be able to do different things. And then Cunning has a lot of units that have shielded. And those shielded units are going to be very good with Gar Saxon's ability because when they come into play, they automatically get that +1/+0 because a shield is an upgrade. So without any further ado, let's take a look at this deck list. Let's take a look at some of the choices that I've made, why I've made them, and some extras you might be able to add into the deck if you were interested in changes. There's going to be a link to this deck list in the description below, but we're going to take a look at this. I'm not going to go over every single thing, so if you need to know what's in here, bring that link up, check out the list, and then look at it while I'm talking about the video. We have a lot of interesting cards here in this deck, but our focus is upgrades, and our focus is using Gar Saxon's passive ability to give our units extra bonuses that they would not have otherwise. One of our early 2-3-ish card combos that we have is Follower of the Way plus either of our upgrades that can attach to him. Smuggling Compartment can't because it's vehicle only, but Snapshot Reflexes gives you a +1/+1, and you can attack when you put it onto play, so you're going to do this on round 2 or later. Brutal Traditions allows you to get that extra buff onto your Follower of the Way, and if it's in the discard pile and you've defeated a unit that phase, you can play it from your discard pile, paying its cost. So that's going to be really good attached to the Follower of the Way, which gets a +1/+1 while having an upgrade on him, which is technically +2/+1 because of Gar Saxon's passive. So with Snapshot Reflexes, you're looking at a 4/5 that attacks the turn Snapshot Reflexes comes into play. Or with Brutal Traditions, you're looking at a 4/6 that's just a meaty unit that can start punching your opponent's units or continue putting the pressure on your opponent's base. Lurking TIE Phantom is another really good target for something like Snapshot Reflexes. On your round 2, you play your Phantom. On your round 3, your first action is to Snapshot to attack with Lurking TIE Phantom, which becomes a 6/3 on attack. 2 from Raid, 1 from the Snapshot Reflexes, 1 from Gar Saxon, 2 from its base ability, and it's going through most of the things that your opponent is using to defeat or capture your units because it can't be damaged, can't be defeated, and it can't be captured by your opponent's card effects. You can still attack into it to get rid of it off the board, you can still exhaust it, you can still return it to the hand, but ultimately the main, most efficient cards that people use in terms of damaging units and defeating units, Lurking TIE Phantom says, nah-uh. In terms of units that are very good with the strategy, anything with shielded is going to be really strong. So Bib Fortuna, Crafty Smuggler, Privateer Sick conditionally, 7th Fleet Defender, the Clients, Super Commando Squad, and Cargo Juggernaut all have shielded on them, Sick conditionally as I said before. And something like Clan Saxon Gauntlet, which doesn't have shielded on it, but does get experience tokens when attacked, or can give something an experience token to something else when it is attacked, you get that extra bonus benefit there. The main quality combo for this deck does involve Lurking TIE Phantom or Triple Dark Raid for either of your big vehicles that you can play. You have 1 big vehicle for ground and Cargo Juggernaut and 1 big vehicle in space with Clan Saxon Gauntlets. They serve different purposes. Cargo Juggernaut, if you have another vigilance unit on the board, it does allow you to heal your base. Clan Saxon Gauntlet is a sentinel in space, so you're going to be able to deal a little bit of damage and then keep your opponent at bay for a single round. And then Triple Dark Raid will return either of those units or whatever you play as a vehicle from its effect back to your hand so that you can play it in the next round and get that same benefit again. Cargo Juggernaut heals your base if you have another Vigilance, as we said before. Clan Saxon Gauntlet is a Sentinel. You're not going to be able to attack with these on the turn they come out after you play them from non-Triple Dark Raid sources, but it is still a very good combination, and even something like Lurking TIE Phantom to be able to attack, take it back to your hand, play it, and then be able to do extra stuff on the next round is going to be very viable for this deck. In terms of quote-unquote removal, that's probably where the deck is weakest, but you're hoping to win before your opponent gets any of the major pieces of their puzzle onto the board with that triple Dark Raid. You do have Asteroid Sanctuary, which you could exhaust one of your opponent's units and then put a shield on one of your units that costs 3 or less, which a lot of your units do. Then you do have Power of the Dark Side, which is a very good card. You can change some of these out with other options that you have available for your removal if you're not as comfortable with it. You can drop your Covert Strength, you can drop the Asteroid Sanctuary, and add in things like Waylay and Takedown if necessary. You'll see the sideboard is obviously overstuffed because there's a lot of things in here, but these were just options that were available that would be good for the deck. Takedown is in there, and that would genuinely be in my sideboard if I were to play this deck today. Same thing with Public Enemy and Rich Reward, which give you more upgrades if you're looking to pass out more upgrades and you can defeat your opponent's units. But I think being able to just push through and keep your units alive with the shields that they come in with and just push that extra damage that Gar Saxon allows you is going to be your primary focus for the way that this deck plays. Now, we're going to take a look really quick at 3 key cards that can really pump this deck if you're interested in adding something like that to your pool. So the 3 cards that we have here that are going to provide some interesting tech choices for your deck if you're interested in modifying what we have here. Starts us off with Lieutenant Charleston. 4 cost 2/2 Sentinel. When played, reveal up to 4 Vigilance cards from your hand. For each card revealed this way, give an experience token to this unit. The math on this is different with Gar Saxon because you can get to the same thing by only revealing 1 card. Mind you, he's only going to have 3 health, but it'll still be a 4/3 as opposed to a 4/4. That single upgrade alone is going to give you the ability to do some interesting stuff with Charleston and not have to reveal too much of what your strategy is going to be going forward. But if you do have 4 cards in your hand that are Vigilance, Gar Saxon's going to give you the ability to push this guy even further, making him a 7/6 instead of a 6/6, because he does have an upgrade on the unit. And because he's a Sentinel, he's a good defensive piece of tech that you have in the deck. Instead of playing something like the Client, where you're trying to use the bounties to keep your base healed up while removing your opponent's units off the board, and he has his own shield, you could throw Charleston in instead, which is going to push out more damage and give you a little bit more protection than the Client would. But I think this is where this unit is really going to shine, because it's not just a single defense piece, it can do both, and that's really good. The next piece we have here is Lom Pike, also in that same cost curve as a 4 cost. This is a 4 cost 4/6 smuggle for 5. On attack, you may give a shield token to an enemy unit. If you do, give a shield token to a friendly unit. So you can use this on something that you're not worried about having to deal with or is in an arena that you don't care about. Lom Pike can attack, give that unit a shield token, and then give one of your other units a shield token, including Lom himself, making him a 5/6, or giving that +1/+0 to any of your other units. And you can use that shield to damage one of your opponent's units and clear it off the board and protect your own unit, or just continue pushing the base damage. This is probably on the lower end of a mid-range deck where it's still very aggressive, but can still keep that control going before it hits the super late game, where then it just fizzles out because there's not enough things that it can do. And the last card we have here is Xanadu Blood, 6 cost 4/6 raid 2. So this is on attack a 6/6. The when played on attack ability is irrelevant for this deck, because you don't run a lot of Underworld, so you're not really going to be returning things that are available to you. If you happen to still have a Crafty Smuggler on the board, you could return it to be able to exhaust one of your opponent's units or resources, but ideally what we want to do is we want to be able to attack with this unit coming off of a triple Dark Raid that allows you to really push that damage onto your opponent's base or clear out of troublesome space units. That's one of the cool things about this Gar Saxon deck is that it can do both. It can stop your opponent's units from getting too big or putting too much damage onto your base while still healing some stuff, and then on top of that can still push out that damage to your opponent's side of the board, making it very difficult for them to really push that win against you in terms of what is capable for you on your side of the board. The last key piece here is going to be Bib Fortuna. I should have talked about this earlier, but we're going to talk about it now. We already know that with Shielded, Bib Fortuna is going to be a 2/3 with Gar Saxon's ability. But the other aspect, the key aspect to this deck, is the fact that Bib Fortuna can allow you to play your triple Dark Raid at full value round 2. Round 1, you play Bib Fortuna for 2, pass over to your opponents. take the initiative, whatever. Round 2, you activate Bib's ability to reduce the cost of the next event you play, which is going to be played with his action, by 1, meaning that Triple Dark Raid only costs 2. You have 3 resources. You pay 2 for Triple Dark Raid, and no matter what comes up, you're going to be able to pay the full resources for it because it reduces the next vehicle by 5. Clan Saxon and Cargo Juggernaut are 6, but you have that 1 resource left available to be able to pay to put them into play with the ability from Triple Dark Raid. And then you've got 4 damage coming from Clan Saxon Gauntlet in space as a Sentinel, or 5 damage on the ground coming from Cargo Juggernaut. And at the end of the phase, they'll go back to your hand where you can decide to either keep them for a later date or throw them as a resource because it was extra card that you were able to pick up from Triple Dark Raid and then move on to be able to do your other things. And if your Bib Fortuna survives and you've got another Triple Dark Raid, you could do this whole process all over again. This is a deck that I think is very interesting. I actually really want to try this out soon-ish. Another thing that you could potentially trade out, I may or may not have said it, is Smuggling Compartment could become a foundling so that you can still at least put that on any unit as opposed to just vehicle. But I like that resource refresh, and it does mean that your vehicles can get some extra stuff that your opponent might not be anticipating. But feel free to try this Gar Saxon deck out. Like I said, no huge cards in here that are super expensive. I think Bib Fortuna, Triple Dark Raid, those are like basically the client. No, the client's an uncommon. Those are the only real rares in here are those 2. Getting a Power of the Dark Side might be a little bit difficult if you're starting your collection now, but I'm sure players around you are going to have some extra stuff. This is it. This is the deck. It's very interesting to me, especially because it's got a lot of fun stuff that's available to it. But try it out, test it out. Let me know what you think in the comments below. And that's all we have for today. This was an interesting episode of Regroup Phase. This is an idea that's been bouncing around my head ever since I saw the full set list. So I might actually go put this together and play it tonight, but who knows, as a recording, obviously. But we'll see what goes on. That's all I have for today. Thank you very much for joining me, everybody. I appreciate each and every one of you. Remember to like and comment on this video. Let me know what you think is the most interesting part of this, or if you're going to play it, or what changes you would make to this deck. Remember to subscribe to this Star Wars Unlimited YouTube channel for all of your Star Wars Unlimited needs. Thank you for joining me, everybody. I appreciate you. This is the way we'll continue next week with a nice episode that's going to have packs and games, or a game, and hopefully some nice, cool prize packs and some changes, and maybe even some trades. And with that, I will see you in the stars.